I was a vegetarian once. I actually starved to death. I had to be revived. Lost all my teeth and everything. I got better though because I started eating meat. You know, it's a odd thing, isn't it, about all these people wanting to be vegetarians, when it's actually a very dangerous thing to do unless you know exactly what you're doing. Or, what's more importantly, that your constitution, your physiology, if you like, has evolved and adapted to a vegetarian diet, which is extremely complex and difficult to achieve unless you've got a culture like the Indians in particular and other certain other cultures which have concentrated on a vegetarian diet, which is pulses mainly. It's not just vegetables. Mostly it's peas and beans and things like that because you need the proteins and the carbohydrates, which you can't just get in a few leaves. You get all the micronutrients in a few leaves, but when it comes to the energy density you need, as you need got lots of energy density in coal, you need a food that has energy density. That's why people eat meat because it's got energy density and things like potatoes, of course. Because the potatoes have got energy density. And that's why, after the potatoes was introduced to Britain, for example, the English population, when they started eating them, become more robust than before when they ate wheat, etc., and bread, and relied upon bread. That's by the by here. Because this push suddenly by the UN and whatever to eat not less meat or not to eat meat is actually a very poor signal to those people, young people, who haven't had a baby or going to have a baby. If you are a vegetarian or don't eat enough nutrients, enough energy density, and conceive a baby, chances are you will have a baby like uh, Greta Thunberg or some like malnutritioned, autistic, selective mutism sort of child, and that's the mutation created by not having enough nutrition and not being healthy enough. The Greta Thunberg is a good example of a parents that a mismatch a poor genetic mismatch with something wrong with their diet and maybe something wrong with their parents' diet to bring out such a small, diminutive, and undernourished person as their daughter Greta Thunberg. Just one example, but you have to ask yourself because this idea, this push suddenly by the UN to you must eat less meat and not eat meat. Well, they're actually having you on because humans, the history is based on eating meat. The development of the Homo sapien. There's too many pathways to developing the Homo sapien or modern humans, as it's so called. Although modern is a very strange word to use when you're still living so barbarous times. That's half the population wants to attack the other half of the population over such a thing as a climate change, which is a total diversion from many other factors going on, including the economic collapse imminent due to the fact they're spending so much on climate change and spending so little on the employment required for all the young people coming on to the future due to AI and robots replacing them or replacing the need for humans. So it all gets it's not that complicated, but it's a little bit complicated to explain it all. The fact is, without meat, with the omega fatty acids, omega oils that they're harvesting in the meat, especially in the fish, and the humans came, the pro-Magnum man, the modern man came about through fishing, because there's so many fish in the sea, massive amount of fish in the sea at one stage. The abundance of fish meant that civilizations a long time ago, we're not getting to why or wherefore, the history of that, but the civilizations of mankind grew stronger and smarter and more intelligent and was able to plan, because to fishing takes planning. You don't just spear a fish, they planned on mass netting fishes. So that created technology, etc., etc. So fishing is, and then that created the massive brain that humans have got, and went on from there with their fireside dreaming to create the world as we know it. etc. Another part of humanity, which was the Neanderthal part, more likely. The Neanderthal part and the earlier humans, they chased the mammoths and they chased the bisons, and they lived off those as well. So there's a confluence then of two types of humans, the ones that sort of evolved through eating fish and followed the coastline, the estuaries, and the other ones that went across the savannas, etc., and followed the massive animals and picked off the weak animals like the lions and tigers and other predators do. But when it comes to looking at vegetarians and say what use are they, well, they're not much use really. If they're so as pathetic as Greta Thunberg, I don't know what use she is as a person otherwise, other than to promote nihilism and anarchy. That's about all she's doing, promoting nihilism and anarchy, let's be honest about it. And attack on why the weak against the strong. That's a sort of thing. A weak needs to form a collective against the strong, which is in the individual, and that's what that's all about. But I thought, what can you do with a vegetarian? What's the best use for them? Well, the thing is, in the Bible, it says in the Bible, read the Bible, it's just for fun, but read the Bible, it says, thou shalt not eat the animals that eat meat. They should only eat the animals that eat the vegetarians and vegetables and stuff. So in other words, if you ever got sort of stuck on a raft or in a situation where they're down to eating, sacrificing the odd human to get by in a situation where you might have to endure a bit of cannibalism to get through your sort of the next few weeks before you survive. It's a raft. A plane goes down at sea or a ship sinks, whatever, and there's a few vegetarians on board. Well, the thing is, they can't eat you if you eat meat. And because you are meat. So the vegetarians can't eat you, but as it says in the Bible, you should not eat those things that eat meat, but you can eat those things that eat vegetables. Well, obviously, then vegetarians have a very good use. They can then become food if we have to resort to cannibalism. So let's not, if the climate change gets really bad and everything can become extinct and really, all collapses and the economy collapses and there's a food cycle that collapses like they're all predicting, well, maybe someone planning this has read the Bible and understands that it's best not to eat things that eat meat because accumulation of certain poisons, I suppose, in the food chain by doing that. But if you eat, because the way it processes the build-up of toxins in the meats and that through the kidneys and the livers and stuff like that, which is why people get poisoned when they eat dog's liver and stuff like that, like Shackleton, whatever, in the Antarctica. But that's by the by. But the thing is, you see, you can eat vegetarians. A vegetarian can eat meat eaters, or meat-eating people, but a meat-eating person can eat a vegetarian. It's in the Bible, and also because, well, that's about the most useful purpose for them. Other than that, if there's enough vegetarians, you just bring the price of meat down so you can eat more meat. They can become stronger because, anyone who's really read the Bible and says, well, what's it all about? Well, when the Israelites went around and sort of smote all the people that their God is the God of the Israelites, said them to smote, he said, well, my God, what we're doing? But they were meat eaters. And being meat eaters, they were stronger than the wheat eaters. They were smoting and smiting, whatever it is, the biblical term. But there you go. That is the best use for vegetarians. You could eat them if you have to resort to cannibalism, because it says in the Bible you cannot eat those things that eat meat, but you can eat those things that eat vegetables. And certainly vegetarians cannot resort to cannibalism because, well, they're vegetarians and vegans. So there you go. I just thought I'd put that together to enlighten the idea, what is the use of vegetarians and vegans? Now you know.